What are you better at than $90 of people? Story 1. Really discounting how big 10 of the population is. If you have a hobby, you are better than 90 of the population at that hobby. Story 2. Probably typing. I've seen people faster than me, but I'd guess I'm faster than 90 of the world. I can type 128 words per minute with 100 accuracy. At my job, where I type prescription information, I average around 150 words per minute. Answer. I always forget how impressive typing is because of selection bias. Most of my social circle are into building keyboards, typing games, etc. The slowest typer among my friends types around 90 WPM. I type 160-180 WPM, and I always feel too slow because I'm so used to seeing higher scores on Monkey Type and Type Racer leaderboards. Sometimes I ought to step back and appreciate what I've got already, haha. Story 3. I'm good with money. I don't make much of it, but I can keep it. That's not a unique skill, but it's the one that's kept a roof over my head and food on the table. Story 4. Being alive. Maybe about 101 billion have died, and maybe 8 billion are alive today. That makes being alive better than over 90 of people that are dead. Story 5. Stringing tennis rackets. I'm probably better than 99 of people at that. I string professionally on the ATP WTA Tour during the year. I can string a tennis racket in under 10 minutes. Answer. I strung about 20 years ago at a couple thousand events. No way were we getting under 10 minutes with those machines, unless you didn't care about consistency. I'm fast. For a now non-pro, easily under 20 minutes per racket on a slow electronic machine. But I feel like when I'm stringing, I'm spending at least 6 minutes just watching the tension pull. How are you doing it in under 10? Story 6. I know my shoot. I an extremely narrow industry. There might be 5 people in the world at my level for this specifics. Story 7. Racing sims. In GT7 time trials, I am consistently able to manage top 2-3 without much effort and can crack the top 1 with effort. Story 8. Incredibly useless, but I can spell pneumono-ultramicroscopic silicovolcanoconiosis from memory, probably in top 10 BC. No one else cares to learn the word. LOL. Fudge if I spelled that wrong, but I won't look it up. BC integrity. Story 9. Programming. Only because the 90 don't know how easy it is. I dislike the learning to code movement. Keep that shoot secret. Story 10. I once got a perfect score on the SAT. It was ages and ages ago, so meaningless now. But I suppose I could say I was once better at multiple choice questions than 99 of my peers. Story 11. Critical thinking. The fact it wasn't taught means people reach adulthood without those skills, and most are too set in their ways to be open to learning them and applying them. Story 12. Making it appear as though I am working when in fact I am probably playing RuneScape on my phone or something. Story 13. Obscure library management system specifications. Things like Mark 21, SIP2, NCIP, etc. Bet you can't guess what my job is. Smile. Story 14. Dumplings. I worked as a baker pizza maker, and guess who they forced to make dumplings? This guy. 2 to 3 kilograms a day. Now I can make dumplings blindfolded. Story 15. Skiing. For me, most skiing feels about the same difficulty level as standing still. Easier even, because if I start to tip over, the skis usually catch me. Story 16. Rocket League. If you have never played, you have 0 chance. If you have thousands of hours, we are probably close. If you have 10K hours, I am probably cooked, but I think I am covered under the 90% rule. Peaked at Champ 3. Story 17. Whistling handless. I can whistle at 105,110 dB. Good for managing dogs and getting attention in the outdoors. Story 18. Nothing. I think I'm solidly okay at a lot of stuff, but I know I'm nowhere near the best at anything I do. Story 19. I think I'm better at solving cryptic crosswords than a lot of people. Most people don't even attempt them. But is that a useful skill? Not really. Story 20. Absolutely nothing. I'm better than 50 of people at every single thing I do, and worse than 50 of people at everything too. Story 21. I can balance a bunch of books on top of my head and walk around, jump, go upstairs, look up and down, etc. I do it with my binder in school when I was carrying stuff in my arms. Story 22. Microsoft Excel 365, probably. There are definitely tons of people better than me, but I should be in the top 10 in the world. Thing is, if you aren't better than at least 90 of the world in what you're doing regularly at your job, then you can't be doing a good job, mijo. Story 23. I'm definitely not in the same league as those insane players that play Mario Kart 8 online and just decimate everyone else. Mostly from Japan and Germany, I've noticed. But I can pretty much guarantee that if I end up at a party and there is Mario Kart, I will wipe the floor with everyone there. My friend actually had Mario Kart at her wedding, and I went down in history that night as an undefeatable Mario Kart master. I play as Cat Peach BTW. Story 24. I'm willing to bet a good amount of money that about 99 of South America, Africa, and East Asia do not know how to ice skate. North America, Europe, and Central Northern Asia are probably around 80, conservatively. Put that together, and by knowing how to ice skate, I'm better than probably 90 of the world. I'm a half-decent skater too, so maybe I'm in the top 5 or so. Story 25. Repairing computers and printers. It's my job since the 2000s, and I don't think 90% all people can do that. Story 26. Using Excel without needing a mouse. Have gotten so many compliments when people see it live, as if I'm doing some sort of sorcery. Story 27. Change and chaos. I embrace change and enjoy surprise changes in the workplace and life in general. On a trip to Yellowstone last year, my friend was driving the rental car and hit an elk. I was in the back seat. They both sat there frozen, and my friend in the passenger seat started crying. I immediately went into action because we were on a Montana 2-lane highway in a dangerous situation. Is everyone okay? We were. Does the car drive? Put the hazards on and get it off the road. They both seemed in shock and frozen, but I jumped into action. Flagged down other vehicles. See, there was a possible elk in the road in the dead of night. Called 911. Took pictures of the car, etc. IDK if it's my former USMC or what, but I function like a well-oiled machine in chaos. Story 28. I can make a fart noise by rubbing my neck against the gap of my collarbone, or by pressing my hand on my sternum, or by swallowing my leg while placing my hand under the opposite side of the knee. I'm sure and better than 90% of people at this. Story 29. Being an overly sensitive lil baby, I don't know if I hit better than 90 on these, but I've been told I'm good at singing and photography. Oh, and running probably, if we're talking general public in the US. Story 30. Drawing and painting and sculpting and carving and modeling. Cooking, talking, in public, speaking more languages. Quantity, not quality, but still. Organization, driving. 30 years, no accidents, no tickets. Nothing too special, but I'm proud of my skills. Story 31. I read it as, why are you better? And the answer is, I just is. LOL, so I am not better at reading than 90% people. Story 32. I'm old now, but might still beat 90 of people in distance running. Certainly if I was using my fitness of my 20s, I was. Story 33. Problem solving. I seem to have the ability to logically solve problems others can't wrap their heads around or get stuck on. Story 34. Customer service. Talking to people. Knowing how to de-escalate issues with customers, considering the fact that I really don't like people. I once got held back to a higher position at my job because I was too good at customer service because everyone else sucks at it here. So punish me, have me make less because everyone else sucks. Story 35. Chin-ups. I can do about 15. And I think I saw a statistic that the majority of the population can't do one, which sadly sounds pretty plausible. Story 36. Based on how few people knit, I'm going to guess knitting. To be even safer, I'll say knitting brioche. Story 37. Holding myself accountable for my actions and behavior. Doing the right thing when no one's looking. Leaving places better than when I found them. Story 38. Anybody who speaks almost any language, bar probably English and Mandarin, could strongly claim to be at least in the top 10 globally. Story 39. Drinking coffee. My daily intake is on average 7 mugs a day. If it's a stressful day, it hits double figures. My record is 18. I did not feel great that evening. Story 40. Chess, computer repair, balance, intolerance, metal detecting, history, math, English language, disc golf, sarcasm. God damn it, I'm a Renaissance man. Story 41. Guitar, skateboarding, strength training. By no means a master of any of them, but for sure better than 90% of people. Maybe also getting up the first time my alarm goes off in the morning. Story 42. Soccer, if truly compared to 90 of the world. Not a pro or anything, but USA lower tier D1 level skill. Not impressive when compared to pros, but a standout in pickup games, LOL. Story 43. The combination of kindness, tolerance, and empathy. Apparently, I'm really good at customer service. I dislike it. Also, Not sure if it's better than 90, but I'm very self-aware. Not great when you're mildly depressed. I'm probably better than 80 of people at being reliable. People always say I'm one of the best people they've worked with because I'm reliable in work. Truthfully, I dislike that title, but I'm not going to choose to make everyone else drag down because of me. Story 44. Simple arithmetic, adding and subtracting numbers, multiplying 2 digits, that sort of thing. So when people want to buy 11 things that control 1.09 each, and I say 10.99 before taxes, they look at me like I'm a sorcerer. Story 45. Minding my own business. If you're around and not talking to me, I don't know what you're talking about. Story 46. Most answers should probably be my job, especially if in a trade. I'd be surprised if I wasn't a better electrician than 90 of the population. Story 47. Math physics. I'm working towards my PhD in physics, so I understand more math and physics than 90 of people. I also teach, so hopefully my students can say the same one day. Story 48. According to my IQ test, being more intelligent than 90 of Americans, which really isn't saying much nowadays, but it still made me feel good. Story 49. Verbal comprehension, apparently. I was given an IQ test by a psychoneurologist after a brain injury in my early 20s. I scored 168 on the Wechsler's verbal comprehension part. I might beat you at Jeopardy if the categories are in my wheelhouse, but it doesn't seem to help much. Story 50. Compartmentalizing, probably. How I treat some people isn't necessarily how I treat all people. The spectrum is wide and polar. Story 51. Am really good at complaining. No one complains as good as me and it pisses me off. Am not sure how much longer I can complain. Story 52. Only thing I can accurately confirm, my IQ score is in the 99.95 percentile. Thanks schools that kept testing me trying to figure out what was wrong with me when it was just ADHD and autism. But other things that can't be measured accurately, probably being able to wing it while being sleep deprived. Story 53. Low light eyesight accommodation. Leave me in a dark room with no lights on and distractions. Within 5 minutes, I'll find my way around it, provided there's an absolutely tiny fraction of light, like the one from under a door. Give me 10 minutes, and I'll maneuver around the space with confidence. Give me 15 to 20 minutes, and I'll tell you what items there are around me. Funnily enough, my recovery time from getting blinded by oncoming cars at night is fairly standard, but in a closed room, dude, I'll be running circles around you before you can see your fingers stretched out at arm's length. What makes this even funnier is that my eyesight is overall quite bad. I've got minus 4.5 and astigmatism on both eyes, and without my glasses, I actually see things more clearly at distances shorter than 5 centimeters, 2 inches. Story 54. Leaving a snarky comment about how I'm better than people at being snarky, being sarcastic, holding grudges, procrastinating, being lazy, or any other self-deprecating joke. God, these comments are so lazy. Story 55. Imitating the sound of a trumpet with my mouth. It's kind of like whistling. Maybe other people can do it, but when I start doing it around people, they're always surprised. Story 56. Stronger, more intelligent, better educated, more attractive, better at making money, better at intimacy, better at persuading others, better at empathizing with others than $90 of people. Pretty much better at everything that actually matters than other people. Worse at focusing on something for a long time, and worse at remembering shoot than 90 of people, though. I think that's a pretty good deal. Thank you for the question. This made me proud of myself. Story 57. I am way better than anyone I have ever met at choosing the slowest checkout line at the supermarket. Story 58. Not to brag too much, but I have mastered at art of being able to correctly insert a USB stick into the slot at the first go. Story 59. I can tell when a girl likes me or might be open to liking me. I thought most people had this ability, but Reddit has me convinced it is a straight-up superpower. Story 60. See my username. Am I better than 90 of trombonists? Maybe, if you include high school and younger students. Am I better than 90 of full-time professional trombonists? Probably not. But am I better than 90 of the entire population? I'm probably in the top 0.0001. Story 61. Relating to anyone, like literally anyone. I've never been put in front of someone who I had the intent of making sure they liked me that didn't like me. I'm autistic and got so good at masking I weaponized it and made it a career. I say weaponized. I actually love humans, like most of them. Every person is a story, and every story has a lesson. People are dope, life is dope, and you don't have a clue what can happen to you tomorrow, so judging people is stupid. Story 62. Being able to see the image in a magic eye picture. I can easily unfocus my vision and see the images almost instantly. Story 63. Identifying antique trade beads. I collect them for a hobby, and sometimes at reenactment events I teach tourists about them, which is lots of fun. They are also good investments, as most trade beads gain value as they age. I know someone who has one strand that when they bought it in the early 80s, paid around 500 USD, and it was appraised for 1,000 in 2001. Its price has probably still gone up, as it's museum quality and a full strand. Story 64. DK if this counts. But as a natural ambidextrous, I can do any task indiscriminately with either side of my body. Other than that, I guess it's my public speaking skills. Probably due to my autism, but I have absolutely zero fear in saying whatever is on my mind, irregardless of how many or who's in front of me. Story 65. Advanced math in my head. I work in a science engineer heavy environment and routinely get to the answer while most are figuring out how to approach it. Story 66. Cleaning. Lakers basketball. Showing grace even when it's tempting to go TF off and having a big heart. Story 67. Sleeping on park benches. I'm better than 90 of people because only 2 of the world is homeless, apparently. I'm not homeless, but I do like sleeping on park benches. Story 68. Real IQ tests. Administered in person by an individual whom is qualified to administer such a test. Story 69. Standardized testing. I fudge crush those things, which, while awesome in school, didn't really translate well to the adult world. Story 70. Making people go back and read the first sentence of this comment over again to see the typo they didn't even notice. Then making them read this sentence explaining that there was no typo. Story 71. Rocket League. I used to be Champ 1, which put me in the top 7 of players at the time. Considering the relatively small community, that probably puts me in the top 99.9 of all people, most of who we have never even touched the game. Story 72. Old Call of Duty games. Would wipe the floor with entire teams 247. Top 100 in public match leaderboards in multiple game modes. Stopped going for kill streaks after a while and just ran UAV, counter UAV, and lightning strike, and just ran up digits. Would be like if Rambo appeared. Story 73. Like anyone who has a niche hobby, I'm easily better than 95% of the general population at that. In my case, medieval sword fighting. However, I think there are people who never held a sword in their life who could probably beat me just because they are good at some martial art that has enough transferable skills. When I train newbies, I'm often really impressed by people who have previous experience in boxing, for instance. Story 74. Working with anyone. Every job I've ever had, everyone says I'm easy to work with. I think it's because I rarely speak and smile a lot. Story 75. Driving. Specifically circle track. I started racing when I was 9 and raced in my first ARCA West event when I was 16. NASCAR KN Pro Series was the name at the time. Got sponsors, made it to big-ish events, met my hero, Michael Waltrip. He told me point blank I was too poor to make it any further in the sport. Tried for another coops of years and quit at 20. Story 76. I'd say basketball. Every time I hoop outside, people compare me to LeBron and Giannis. But if you put me with some hoopers, nah. I'm pretty good though, but I'm sure a college D1 player or a G League player would bust my jerk. I'm only 63, and people act like I'm a giant or something. Story 77. Probably writing. I always excelled in English classes throughout school and recently landed a grant writing job just based on my papers from college. Story 78. Walking speed. I'm 33 and still don't have a license, so I walk everywhere, and rarely do I ever find anyone who can match the speed of my natural pace. The license thing is pretty embarrassing, IMO, but at least it lets me do a bit of cardio every day. Story 79. I am pretty good at learning languages, currently working on being fluent in my 6th language, and have learnt 4 out of the 6 languages after turning 18. Story 80. Learning. When I'm interested in something and I don't understand it, it almost hurts. LOL. So I chronically research it, talk people's ears off about it. I've learned mechanic work, basic electrical plumbing concrete work, how to weld, solder, braze. I know basic plumbing, and I can make some sort of sense from blueprints, albeit I can't read them fluently. Not a cent of student debt over my head for any of it. I also am learning how to write graffiti-style art, and I'm skateboarder of over a decade, so I'm constantly learning a new trick. Where others say I can't do that, I say, Where can I learn and what do I need? I'm not trying to pat my back with all this either. LOL, anyone can learn anything if they just respect it, take the necessary steps, and do the research. I don't think I'm special by any means. I'm just confident. If anything, I hope this helps more people be enthusiastic about learning new things. Story 81. There are so many people in the world that if you do any niche thing for a month or two, you are probably better at that thing than 90% of people. Flying a helicopter, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Warhammer, speaking Korean, most controversially, making a grilled cheese sandwich. Y'all's grilled cheese game week. Story 82. Most things that I do, I'm better at driving than 90 because I drove professionally for a long time. World of Warcraft raiding. I was 2-1 DPS in raids a few years back, and less than 1% of the human population plays that game anyways. Same is true with every video game I've played, honestly. Less than 1% of the world plays each of those games. Teaching science. Again, simple math here, but I'm also the best in my district anyways. Knowledge of the Bible. I study it deeply. My ability at chess. My ability to finish writing a novel. The list goes on when you stop to think about the numbers. Story 83. Splatoon. Specifically Salmon Run. The game records your percentile for certain Salmon Run events, and I am consistently in the top 5, occasionally top 1. Would I rather be top 1 in other ways? Yes, but it does feel nice to know I'm top 1 in something. Story 84. Very specific things about my job. Boring stuff nobody cares about. Also motorcycle racing. Simply because 90% of people have never seriously tried to or raced on motorcycles. Story 85. Probably violin. Mostly cause basically no one plays it anyways, so my lack of skill doesn't really affect my placement. Story 86. Daydreaming scenarios in my head that never play out in real life. In another life, maybe I'd have achieved something of note. But at middle age, I'm resigned to mediocrity, but I'm sort of at peace with it. Story 87. I can bend my foot all the way backwards. I've never seen anyone do what I can do. So yeah, I'd say that. Story 88. Tough to portray this in writing, but I can eyeball and retrieve an almost exact amount of anything in one try without thinking about it. Quantity does not matter. For example, if a coworker asks for 100 sheets of printer paper, I'll quickly eyeball and pinch 98,102 out of the ream on my first try. This happens across the board, regardless of the item. And I'd wager I hit the exact number requested, needed 10 to 15 of the time. Again, regardless of quantity. During my company's charity golf outing this year, we had 68 golfers. Each golfer got 3 logoed tees pre-placed in the cart. I jokingly said, "Watch this," to a few other coworkers while we were prepping, and then plunged my hands into the box of teas. I pulled out a bundle of 205 teas. The key is not to think about it. If I do, it never works out. I suck at guess the number of jelly beans type games, but I consider this a superpower. Story 89. Think you will be top 90 of most things if you practice them, to be honest. It is likely that hobby is not practiced by enough people in the world to dent your top 90. Maybe football is played enough. You're saying if you play or do that hobby versus 910 people in the world chosen at random, you will be better than them. This includes all babies, kids, really old people, people that live in the Amazon, etc. They would own me at bow hunting, but let's see them play FIFA. I just think if you are decent at a hobby, you're instantly top 90 globally. Pretty sure most people will have a few things they are top 90 at. Being top 90 of a discipline hobby is a way different ballgame. Story 90. Singing, playing guitar, playing bass, music composition, and mixing. I don't think it's that difficult to be among the top 10 though. Story 91. By profession, I'm a classical musician. I'm nothing special as a person, nor will I ever be famous, but I'm tested in this field and have won jobs and positions at my instrument. I'd be squarely in the top 1% of people who have played it. It is not a lucrative field. Story 92. If I put something in the microwave with a handle, I can tell what direction the handle will be facing when I open the door, no matter the time it was in. Story 93. Staying calm when things go sideways. Even when everyone's panicking, but in the moment, I somehow stay chill. Story 94. I can stop most addictions with my sheer will. I've beaten years of nicotine usage, the same year that I also decided to stop drinking. This year I decided to stop cannabis too, because I dislike to be slave to it, and I can consciously skip my ADHD meds. One remain, only one. The hardest of all. Self-care. Pray for me. Story 95. Legitimately, I guess like non-professional golfing. Completely coincidentally, I had a similar upbringing as Happy Gilmore, except opposite, LOL. My dad taught me and my brother very early how to golf, and we both picked it up quickly, got pretty good. We would play together until I was probably about 13, and I got into music and unnecessary rebellion. Haha. We would then just play on vacation, and then it sort of tapered off when I got to my 20s. I didn't play for a long time, and then once I moved to Florida, I would play with friends and go to Topgolf and stuff like that, and everyone would be surprised at how good my form, drive, and putting all were, because I never was known as a golf guy. If I was in better shape physically, I'd probably be even better. I'm 40 now, and am really considering trying to get back into shape and getting back into it and maybe entering some tournaments. Story 96. Ivan, Iron Man, Stewart's Super Off-Road. If there was a Last Starfighter situation with that game, I would be recruited from Earth. Story 97. Solving a Rubik's Cube. Compared to competitive solvers, I'm terrible. But compared to the rest of the world, I'm probably top 10. I can do it in about 20-25 seconds. Story 98. Pretty easy to be better than 90 of people at something. Just pick a niche hobby and learn to do it once. Or any hobby and do it for a while. Most people should be able to make a pretty big list. Story 99. Since about 5 of the world's population speaks English as their first language, I'd say I'm better at speaking English than 90 of people. Story 100. It's just video games, but probably closer to 99 in most competitive games. GM and OW for 20 seasons. Eternity in Marvel Rivals. Got Blood Torva, Quiver, and Infernal Cape in OSRS. I'm just a gamer. XD. Story 101. Reading the convo before it even begins. I mean, like in most conversations, I already know the outcome or the answer after the first sentence. Story 102. Punctuality. If you tell me to be there at XYZ time, I'm there at XYZ time, and sometimes minutes earlier to account for traffic or emergencies. If you tell me to do something in a specific way, I will do it that specific way. I show up for work the exact same time every day, give or take 1 to 2 minutes. I have my routine down to exact minutes. I do things in particular orders. Story 103. I have a numeric eidetic memory, but only up to about 20 digits. I instantly commit phone numbers and credit debit card details to memory, amongst other things. No idea why, because I suck at maths. Story 104. I guess knowing a little bit of everything, I have a big range of basic skills and knowledge, though I don't know if it's better than 90% people. Story 105. Skateboarding. But that's easy considering most people struggle to ride or ollie. Now, how good am I compared to other skateboarders? I'm usually the best in the room, if that room is a single toilet bathroom. Story 106. Probably long-distance running. I'm not even great at running, but I'm decent at it. Probably top 30 of people who run, but most people don't run at all, so I like my odds. Story 107. I can fall asleep literally anywhere within minutes. Planes, buses, standing up, you name it. My friends dislike me for this superpower. Story 108. I have a Supra at 17. My parents are rich. I'm going to inherit millions. I'm 66, got a scholarship to Harvard. On the downside, it's hard having such high expectations. Story 109. Doing things I don't want to do, but I know I have to. I just turn off the dread and ignore the annoyance and start. This has been incredibly useful to me. Story 110. Counting in my head. When I was a kid, I was years ahead of my peers because of this. I can't do mathematics, LOL, but it is useful in everyday life. Story 111. Industry knowledge. I probably know more about software development, especially C, AngularJS, CSS, computers in general, networks, Azure, SQL Server. I cycle faster than probably 98, definitely 95 of people cycling in London. Cooking bread. Do it a couple of times a week, so I get it right just about every time. And my kitchen is full of sourdough spores, so if the starter ever goes off, I can make a new one every time. Story 112. Estimating time it takes to do something or go somewhere, size, weight, that sort of thing. Like, really good at it. Drives my family nuts. Story 113. According to a quick search, 3/4 of the world speaks French. I have a B1 level education at best. Far from I speak French being a phrase I can use, but I think I am better at it than 90 of their world. Story 114. I am the it's raining guy, and it's hard to put into words. I do have excellent hearing, but I'm talking about the mental ability to flag an identity sounds immediately, an alertness that probably saved some ancient ancestor of mine from a big hungry kitty. Example, one time in college, me and a friend went to a random party she had heard about. As smokers, we ended up on the back patio inside 5 minutes, which wasn't bad because the drizzling rain had just stopped. Then I heard it. Scree, crooch, hoonk. The horn blared on as I looked from face to face in disbelief. They heard it. The most incredible thing is I could see the thought twitch in their eyes, but it hadn't clicked for anybody. When I declared with incredulity, "Y'all, that was a car crash," and started out the door, then it registered for them. It didn't make a difference for the poor kid that snapped his neck, but it was a block away and I was still the first one there, faster than the sobbing woman who thought it was her own son that wrapped a car around her tree. Same thing with the rain. I always hear it first. Story 115. Drawing. I haven't drawn in years though. I never felt like a creative person. Too much anxiety over what to draw. Story 116. I can ride a motorcycle pretty fast, and I'm a pretty good shot. If there was ever a need for me to become Daryl from The Walking Dead, it'd be a pretty smooth transition. Story 117. I would say probably everything. What are the odds enough people do anything to not automatically put in the top 10, or at least close? Story 118. Serving looks, but it's a shame it'd never reveal my face on Reddit because this account is intentionally anonymous. Story 119. I'd like to say that I'm resourceful when I want to be, LOL. One time my parents took the Wi-Fi router out with them because I didn't want to join them for a walk, but they didn't want me to stare at a screen all the time. You think that'd be the end of things, but no. Haha. I remember we had an old outdated router somewhere, so I dug it out from the basement, found replacement cables, and resumed my internet searches. I then put it back and pretended nothing happened. Haha. Story 120. Everyone is better than 90 of people in many things, but the best question is whether you are better than 90 of people who are trying to be good at that thing. Am I right? Story 121. Understanding someone's point of view, whether I agree or not, which sometimes can make it difficult to solidify my own point of view. Story 122. Land navigation. I ride off-road and I'm almost always alone. Of course I use a GPS, but I also track my location using the terrain and basic dead reckoning because GPS's phones can fail. If you have a map and a compass and know how to use them, you'll never be lost. It can be a lifesaver in the American Mountain West. Story 123. Estimating calories in any given edible item pretty accurately. Byproduct of struggling with anorexia for over 20 years. Story 124. Software development. I'm probably not where near the top 10 of programmers, but compared to all people, sure. Also photography, why not? Same principle. Story 125. Guitar. 20 years of playing. First 10 years I would practice 2 to 3 hours a day. These days I play about a half hour a day. Story 126. I think I could physically beat up 90 of the population. Not glamorizing it, but I wrestled, trained MMA, and go to the gym. If someone threatens me, I think there's greater than 90 chance they've made a mistake. Story 127. Beating the crap out of myself through self-criticism. Always been a glass half-empty personality. At 62, water in the glass is getting lower and lower. Story 128. Reaction time. I don't know how this happened, but I average 150 milliseconds, tested in AIM labs and websites, and I thought it was because of gaming, though I'm not even near the skill level where you'd reach reaction times like this in any game. Even after more than a year break of competitive games, it hasn't gotten worse. Story 129. Being able to do math in my head. Not Rain Man-like or anything, but really good at multiplying. Completely useless skill with calculators, computers, etc. Story 130. Probably remembering the first 100 digits of pi by heart. Not sure it's actually 90 of people, but if I'm in a room with 9 random strangers, I'm pretty sure I know the highest amount of digits. Story 131. Probably playing the clarinet and crocheting. I crochet really well, but I haven't played the clarinet in a couple of years because I had jaw surgery. I imagine my capability is still above 90 of people though. Story 132. 10 of the world is 800 million. I'm not great at drawing, but I bet I could come top 800 million. Same with something like calculus. I've only done first-year UniCalc, but less than 10 of the world is college educated, and even less than that would be doing STEM majors. So I think I could place pretty highly in a math contest. Other than that, I'm not particularly good at anything, despite dipping my toes in a multitude of disciplines. Story 133, shoot technique. I've been waiting for any opportunity to give my tips, and this is the closest it's going to come to. Before I even sit on the toilet, I always lay down a bit of toilet paper over the water, just enough to catch the chute and prevent a splash from going up me. As I'm sitting down, I make sure to spread my cheeks to decrease the need for wiping. The less spread your cheeks are, the more evidence the chute leaves behind, meaning the longer you need to sit and clean. Be careful doing this, though. I've literally tore a bit of my skin and am currently suffering from fissures, but they're slowly going away. Don't go too far. The final step is to bring your knees up to your chest, either with a little stool just in front of the toilet or bringing your feet onto the toilet seat if it's big enough. This brings you into a squat position, which is the way humans are designed to release. This is how I have the most efficient and effective poo possible. Story 134. Fencing. I was a state champion in high school. I'm out of shape these days, but still figure 99 of people have never even tried it. Story 135. Thinking years in advance ahead of people on certain things, especially saving and spending money wisely on things for myself that's going to help me in the long run, instead of demolish me like this world and some of these companies want me to do. Story 136. Knowing obscure knowledge about obscure topics. Not top 90 overall, but definitely top 1 for this specific combination. Terraria, hi-fi audio, millipedes, spiders, K-pop group Stray Kids, melodicas, especially antique ones. Story 137. 90 of the people in general, or of the people who are doing that thing. Because take any video game that you play, and you're better than 99 of the people because of the whole population of the Earth. Just a small number play any game. Story 138. According to the women I've been lucky enough to be with, eating private area. I love it. So hot when they almost choke you out with their thighs. Story 139. Ballroom dance, specifically the waltz. Learned and competed in college, got a few ribbons it. It's been decades since I have done it, but I still know how. Way I figure it, 90 or more of people don't even try, so I am better by default. I suspect most people could find some skill that 90 or more of people have not attempted and are better by default. Story 140. Finding and organizing information online. Most people stop at the first page of Google, but I know how to get to the original sources and verify the facts. Story 141. Running. I am slow as shoot, but I've done a couple half marathons, which 90 of the world has not done, and one marathon, which 99.9 of the world will never do. Story 142. Am statistically better at chess than 99 of the world. I have played tournaments alongside GMs and have drawn 2850 rated computers modeled after Nakamura and others. I've also probably changed more skylines than most other people. I've put up everything from COVID labs to data centers to condo buildings and everything in between. For a long time, I was also better at running than most other people. I could run a 5-minute mile flat. Story 143. Strength. I'm an absolute machine, and it's pure genetics. I remember always being stronger than my friends as a kid, and it just never changed. Even now, I don't work out and work an IT job, and yet I'm just crazy strong. I have no idea why. No matter how much I sit on my jerk, I don't seem to atrophy. Story 144. Tragic end thoughts imagining that I could just simply jump in front of that train, or jump near the road sidewalk with my chest and my head on the road so upcoming car would break my neck, or pick vodka and inject it into my veins so my heart would stop, or sit in my car at Friday night, buy vodka and big doner kebab. Then I would pick a long hose and connect it to my exhaust pipe and throw it in my car so I would suffocate. Choices, choices, choices. Story 145. More often than not, they are coming back a few months later telling me I was right about the person. I just almost instantly get a vibe about a person and can see right through their mask. Story 146. Knowing when someone has died. I don't know why, but whenever someone even remotely close to me dies, I just know immediately without anybody telling me. Story 147. Hating. I'm a natural hater when I want to be. It's not a skill. It's a lifestyle. I love what I love passionately, which means I dislike what I dislike passionately. You ever seen the Chappelle's Show skit, The Playa Haters Ball? Listen to Ice-T's monologue at the beginning of the skit. He explains it very well. Story 148. Apparently chess. I've made it to the 98.9 percentile, but each 0.1 more gets exponentially harder. Rated 1725 on chess.com and don't seem to be improving much past this level. Story 149. Falling down. Spent just enough time in gymnastics as a kid to get that drilled into me. Didn't learn much of anything else, but to this day, that tuck and roll instinct is still strong. Story 150. Blending in. I'm a minority with a very diverse cultural upbringing. With 3 different passports, I can go pretty much anywhere and not have someone look at me twice. I've been to about 16 different countries on 4 different continents, so I have some reasoning to back this up. Story 151. Creating great software. Typing. Just tested myself on TypeRacer. 109 WPM. 100. English spelling and grammar. Explaining complex concepts. Solving problems. Critical thinking. Being a spouse. Being a parent. Alpine skiing. Working on and fixing cars. Story 152. Golf. If your 18-hole score average is better than an 80, you're better than 90 of golfers alone. That's not counting those that don't golf. Story 153. Programming. Using computers for more than surfing Facebook and buying shoot online. Typing faster than I write on paper. Story 154. Being secure in my masculinity. Genuinely. I'm a straight white male. I don't care. I'll hug my dad and kiss my son and wear a dress and paint my nails. I'll let my wife earn more than me and not think anything of it. I watch a lot of gay content creators and have trans friends. I never understood the appeal of masculinity. My dad was pretty macho but didn't give a fudge what people thought about him either. Story 155. I have a world record. I'm confident that I could teach 90 of the world to beat that record, but I'm waiting for my son to be old enough so I can train him and give him some of the magic too. Story 156. Chess. I'm not great, but better than 90 in the most famous websites. Edit. That means around 1900 to 2000 ELO online for those who are interested. Story 157. Motorcycle riding. I ride for 10 years. I'm probably not better than 90 of riders, but better than 90 of the general population. Story 158. Reading fast and actually retaining what I read. Only works for fiction though. Otherwise, I'd have my PhD by now. Story 159. Playing pool, patent law, possibly kickboxing, and if the CalcSD website is to be believed, erect cock size, length and girth. Story 160. Top 10 means you've just got to be in the top 800 million worldwide. And when you put it that way, nearly every adult will be able to think of many things they are top 10% in. Every language in the world except Mandarin has fewer than 800 million native speakers, so you're probably in the top 10 at whatever your native language is. And if you speak a second language that isn't English or Mandarin, you're probably top 10% in that too. Wikipedia says that there are only 267 million Portuguese speakers in the world, so my rusty Portuguese is probably good enough. I'm very confident that I'm also top 10 at running, 5K or longer, StarCraft, 1 or 2, math, Excel, piano, physics, electric shower head repair. Story 161. I'm genuinely better than 90 of people at finding the absolute cheapest flight combination for any given trip.